Welcome to the OK Den Show. I am Titia Owens, the Madre.
And I am Chyna Elizabeth, the daughter. Welcome to the show.
We are so excited that you have joined with us here again today. We have two tremendous young ladies with us today. And we're going to let them introduce themselves. This young lady that's sitting to my left. When I tell you she is ooh and some wheat. She is forever serving the community, doing wonderful things for so many individuals, not in just Dallas, Texas, but around the world. She is my friend, my sister, and I so enjoy working with her because she is outstanding. You understand what I'm saying? So without further ado, I'm going to let her introduce herself, which her name is
Thana Simmons.
Hi, Thana Simmons.
Hey, Thana.
Thank you for having me, guys. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And who is that beautiful lady sitting to your left?
This is my beautiful oldest daughter. Your name is?
Hi, I'm Nyla.
Hey, Nyla. Nice to meet you and stuff.
Hey, girl.
Okay, so can we find Thana some water? Can y'all see if it's some in the refrigerator in the room? Will you mind, sweetie? Okay, so we're going to jump right in. And Thana is going to tell us a little bit about her past. We're going to start with her journey from some of the things that she's experienced as a young person, and we're just going to walk you through her process. So
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. But we're going to start from what I understand to know. So what I know about Thana is at 17, you were what?
A teen mom. I had a baby at 17.
You had a baby at 17. And so having a baby at 17, tell me what that felt like during that time. What was the world like around that time?
Oh my goodness. So the world was, Tupac had just got killed.
Okay.
Wow. She know that.
I know. You had to know that Tupac had just got killed. Right?
So funny.
And I'm bringing a baby into this world after Tupac got killed. No. So I was a PK. My father was a pastor. I had actually finished high school early, so I had just got accepted into a bridge program at UIC.
Oh, wow.
When I found out I was pregnant.
Wow.
So I hid it for as long as I could because my initial plan was not to keep the baby. But I was a PK, grew up in church, and every time I would make an appointment to end my pregnancy, I couldn't do it. The last time I talked myself into ending this pregnancy, I actually had a dream the night before I was going to get up and go, that I was on a steel table with a sheet over me and people were shaking me, trying to wake me up. So I knew that this child was destined to be here and that I could not terminate this pregnancy. And I knew that I would now have to face the consequences that came with being a pastor's daughter. I was supposed to leave for school. My sisters had already left. And I just decided that I would face the responsibility of being a mom at 17 years old. So I walked that journey out. I had my baby. I remember she was born December 6th, and I was in school, in college. And she was 3 days old. And I came home from the hospital. They kept us a little longer back then. Now they're home in 24 hours. I came home from the hospital, and my sisters ran in the house to see their new niece. And I wrapped my stomach up. I handed them a 3-day-old baby, and I said, I just fed her. I'm about to go take a final up at school, and I'll be back. And over the next 3 days, I continued to do that so that I can complete my finals and complete that semester in school. Because there was no option for me to not have completed what I started with her being born in December. So that was the beginning of my journey, where I immediately, 3 days into having a baby, had to continue to finish what I started despite having a baby so young.
Well, okay, so I love all that, first and foremost.
Great.
Let me just say that. But let's go back to your daddy.
Oh.
You were a preacher's kid. So there was
Have you ever met my daddy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had to come to your daddy and say, Father, your daughter is with child. Can you take us back to that experience?
Am I allowed to say hell?
Sure, if it's in the context of what we're talking about.
So I remember my mother. It was a Monday, And my mother came up to my room and she said, "You must tell your father you're pregnant." And my eyes welled up with tears and I said, "I can't." She said, "You telling him today or I'm going to tell him." I did not want him to hear from anyone else that I was pregnant. You got to understand, I just wasn't a PK kid. I was the baby girl. I was a professional harpist. I started playing the harp at the age of 8.
Oh, wow. You've
So-
never played the harp for me.
I know. I might.
Okay, then. Come on. I'm going to have to put you on a program.
Okay.
Go ahead. Put you on a program.
So, I had this big old harp in the living room. I was my daddy's pride and joy. I had started college a year and a half early, graduated high school early. So I'm like, how do I tell this man that I'm pregnant? And I went down to the bedroom and I sat on the edge of the bed and I said, "I have to tell you something." And I started crying and he knew it was going to be something big. And I remember his face. He said, "What is it?" And I said, "I'm pregnant." And I remember verbatim what he said. He said, "The hell you are." And he just got up, started putting on his shoes.
No.
"This is not happening. This is not happening." And I was like, "Pa," I call him Pa to this day. "Pa, I'm so sorry." And I'm crying. He is beet red. If you ever saw my father, like he almost looked Caucasian. His face was beet red. And
It's
he
the
left.
face and the voice for me.
And he left, and I didn't see him for days.
Wow.
My father internalized that. He took it hard. I don't remember talking to him for months, and we were like this.
Yeah.
And when I went into the hospital to have my baby, I remember my mother calling him and saying, "Please come and pray for her. She's close to giving birth." He came up to the hospital to pray for me, and he looked at me, and then he walked out. My father took that very, very hard.
Do you feel like it was because he felt like he was disappointed in the influence that he had on you that happened under his watch? What do you think the issue was that he took it so hard? Like, tell us what you
I can
feel
tell
it
you
was.
what the issue is because now as an adult, we've discussed it. He said he felt like he was so busy pastoring and he was the chairman of the board for the community development team at Seaway National Bank.
Okay.
He was very, very busy. He was a businessman. He felt in some sense responsible because of his schedule, but he was the ultimate provider as well. I told you I got a heart for my 8th birthday. So he just owned it as though it was his fault. And he felt like there was something he could have done to prevent it. But listen, this was ordained. This was part of my journey. He understands it now as I tell my story on so many platforms about why I do the work that I do. This was necessary for my life, and it actually shifted me. I was real fast out in them streets, right?
Well, let me just say this. Preacher's kids.
No, we be the worst.
Yeah,
No, seriously.
I'm a preacher's kid.
Yeah.
I done wrote a book
So
about my foolery.
No, we be the worst. We try to do the worst that we can do.
That's
yeah,
so funny.
we do.
Well, I'm going to say this. I don't know if I was trying to do the worst, but I didn't have no problem being the worst. I don't know if I was trying,
I know.
but I was giving you a lot of wrongery.
I don't have that testimony.
What'd you say?
I don't have that testimony.
You want a preacher's kid,
I was
but
not.
you had the testimony.
You got some stuff.
yeah, you had the testimony.
I don't think I did.
I'm the source. She had the testimony.
Yeah.
But anyway, how did you and your father come back from this? Like, what was the
It was the
turning point?
baby. It was the baby.
Okay.
So initially, for the first, when the baby is little, they can't look at you, they can't smile, nothing.
Yeah.
The first time this girl looked at her grandfather and lit up and smiled, oh, that was it. It was
He was in love.
was in love. It was just, there was no turning back at that point.
Yeah.
And then he continued to support me on my journey until I wanted to right my wrongs, and I didn't want to be a single mother. Her biological father did not want to be involved. He wanted no parts of the baby, the pregnancy. And so, you know, in me trying to get my life right with God, because I was a church girl, I got engaged at 18. And by 19, I was a teen bride. So I went from being a teen mother so young to being a teen bride.
So you felt that was right and you're wrong by doing that?
I absolutely did, because I never grew up without a father and a mother in my home.
Okay.
That's all I knew. And so I felt like my daughter needed a father and a mother. And I mean, I was cute. This man wanted to marry me, right?
But was he godly?
He said he was.
Okay.
He said he was.
Okay. And you believe that?
Oh, I did.
Okay. But did you believe because he was fine, or you just believed because you believed what you saw? Which one was it now?
He could preach and sing. Yeah.
So he could perform.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's exactly what that was.
And you know, that might be a whole different podcast when we talk about
it. I like it. So how did you, or he chose you, but how did you choose him?
I chose him because he connected to my trauma. We had trauma bonds. He had grown up with no father, grown up in a terrible household, and here I am coming out of trauma of having a baby, a man not wanting to be involved with the baby, the chaos in my household around me having a baby. We really connected through our trauma. It was a trauma bond. Yeah.
And how long did that last? How long did that trauma keep y'all together?
18 years of marriage. I spent the first 18 years of my adult life married.
Wow.
Yeah, married to trauma.
So what was that marriage like before I started talking to Nyla?
Ooh. So once I got married, I had 2 more girls.
Okay.
So at 22 years old, I find myself devastated, giving birth to my 3rd daughter. And I remember laying in the hospital, devastated, and I asked the doctor if he could take out my uterus, and he told me no, but he tied my tubes.
Okay.
And
you were devastated. Why though?
I was devastated at being so young with 3 children and a husband, which really accounts for a 4th child, and being thrust into this world so young, and my sisters were living their life. At this point, we're in their 20s. We're in our 20s. We're all 18 months apart. They're traveling the world. They're doing what young people do. And I got a baby in a car seat, a baby on my hip, and one holding my hand.
Yeah, so you had to grow up real fast.
Oh, you don't get an option. You grow up very, very fast. And I often tell my daughters, now they're all grown, and be like, y'all know I was in my 20s. I'm sorry. You know, because when I look back, I was very young with 3 kids, and then it made me become very religious. So I just had them in church 3-4 nights a week. I got pictures of me 23 years old with a big old rhinestone hat, rhinestone suits.
You was trying to look like First Lady?
Okay, it was giving First Lady.
Definitely giving First Lady every Sunday.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about religious. Like, why did you feel the need that was the route you needed to go? Like, what was making you say, I need to be this?
I was living in so much dysfunction. At the end of the day, the only thing I knew from my foundation to lean on was my faith.
Okay.
But then I let the religious leaders around me who saw my pure heart in my faith turn it into religion. You know, so, and that's another podcast too. I was 20-something years old, giving all my money to church and keeping enough to feed my kids. And just, but I felt like I still lived in so much condemnation, I'm not gonna lie. And so I I mistaked, my faith walk with religion because I just kept trying to do what I felt like the leaders in the church wanted me to do.
It wasn't about a relationship with the Lord. It was following them and basically doing what they were saying to do.
Yeah.
You weren't saying, because I love you, Father, and because I want to honor you. You were saying, okay, I'm looking at my leaders, so I need to be doing what they're doing. They're expecting me to do this. And I'm only asking this because for the person that's trying to understand the words you're saying, that's not aware of this Christian walk and what that looks like. I'm just making sure I'm giving some clarity to that word religion, because we do get that confused. Religion for most people, it sounds like it works with Christianity, but in actuality it is a form of just doing what you think is the right thing to do, as opposed to a concentrated relationship with Christ.
Jesus, yes.
And so that's why I wanted to.
And religion kept me in a marriage. So I don't tell this story often.
Tell it, girl.
I had my last baby at 22, and I was 7 months pregnant with this last baby. And I remember going to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Do you and your husband have different sexual partners?" And I said, "No." I was a bit green too. And he said, "Well, you've got an STD and you're going to have to go on antibiotics before you give birth." Religion had me so caught up that instead of, the now Thana will say, "Oh my gosh, he cheated on me and gave me an STD." That wasn't my reaction.
Yeah, I've been there, done that.
I was quiet. I was ashamed, never said anything. And then 6 months later, after I've given birth, I find out that the man that I was married to was having an affair with one of my best friends in the church.
Wow.
And I remember the pastor told me, see, some people ain't gonna like this.
Come on, tell it. You on the
I remember the pastor looking at me and telling me, if you leave and you don't handle this right, God is going to judge you and get you. And so I continued to stay in the trauma, in the dysfunction, and never left the church. So I'm every Sunday going to church, looking at her, and continuing to...
The other woman.
Yeah, shaka matata.
Oh, wow.
Because you get it off of you on the altar.
I'm not about to play.
Shaka matata.
Just really religious, instead of just being reasonable with that situation and saying, this is not it.
Yeah,
this is not
it ain't it at all.
And then having to raise children while dealing with that trauma and all of that dysfunction that's happening.
So you go through this process. You have how many children at this point?
3.
You have 3 children, and you have been married for 18 years. So what brought you to the point where you said enough is enough? Like, how did you come to that, or did he come to that?
It was me.
Okay.
It was really me. I set it up. And I'm just
set it up. Come on with the lifetime.
So I set it up. I had went through so many years of dysfunction. I started a ministry. One thing about me is when I was young, I knew that I was called. I knew that I was gifted. And so I started operating in that. Here in Texas, I started a nonprofit for teen moms that were homeless and pregnant, and housing them. And things were going okay, but it was a constant struggle in our household. It was a struggle of, he was a preacher, and I had started a nonprofit ministry. But my nonprofit ministry was kind of taking off, but still struggling. It was a huge struggle, and I couldn't get to the other side. And meanwhile, every hurdle in my marriage was happening. And I remember that I pretty much set it up. It was just one straw that broke a camel's back. He had to preach one Sunday. Nyla wasn't even there. Nyla was away at school. And he had to preach one Sunday, and we came out of church from him preaching, and our truck was gone. And that was my breaking point. Out of everything I had been through with him over those 18 years.
And all the other stuff, you let all that go.
I didn't let it go.
Okay, what you do? You didn't tell us what you did.
I internalized it all. I held on to it. I suppressed a lot.
Okay.
But when I came out of church, and that black Suburban was gone, That's how I drove those girls around. That's how I did everything. And that was the bill he was responsible for. Of everything. That was the straw that just broke the camel's back.
Why? Why was that it?
I told myself that I could not live another 18 years like that. I knew who I was, and I knew that wasn't my real life. God had shown me as a young girl who I was. I knew that wasn't my real life. And what example was I continuing to set for my daughters? They knew they had a mother and father and a home to go to. They didn't really know and understand the inner workings and the dysfunction that was happening within that home.
Yeah.
Because I kept it from them. I was good at that. You know, religion teaches you to do that too.
Yeah.
You
So
got-
was the car repossessed?
Girl, yes.
Okay. Oh, I know
That
somebody
means-
stole it.
And that mean it had a tracker on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's the dysfunction that I was, but that wasn't my life. I grew up upper middle class.
Okay.
I grew up well. I didn't even know what the word rent was until I got married. I didn't know what rent was.
Wow.
Yeah, there were certain words that weren't in my vocabulary because of the way that I grew up. I went to private schools. So I'm living this life where nothing about it felt like my life. And that truck being gone when we came out of church that Sunday was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I pulled him into the office and I had a difficult conversation and he couldn't handle it. And he filed for divorce.
Wow.
And that was the beginning of the end of that era of my life. And I'm so grateful. That is probably the best gift that he gave me.
Okay. So the car's gone. Repossessed. You knew that wasn't your life. You knew who you were in the Lord at this point, or tell me where you were.
Absolutely, I did. That is one thing about me. No matter what season I was ever in, no matter what I went through, my foundation was solid.
Okay.
I have always been a dreamer. I have always been able to hear. And I knew what God had showed me, and I knew that God showed me where I was going. I just did not know that this was the journey to get there.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nyla, when you were of age to understand what was actually going on, or when something actually felt different, do you remember when that was? Do you remember thinking, something isn't right with my parents, or did you ever have that emotion?
As a kid, no.
Okay.
Like, I can never sit here and remember any times where I knew there was an issue.
So y'all did a good job of keeping that.
Yeah, that's real
They
good.
did a very good job
Yeah.
of
We
keeping.
did.
Yeah.
I didn't know until I was like a teenager and I had actually left the house.
Okay.
Um,
And you left the house to go where?
to college.
Okay,
So
okay.
I graduated a year early and
Okay.
left and moved to North Carolina.
And so when did you what did you realize was going on?
I guess the different opinions on me leaving. That was when everything not everything, because clearly at 17 you don't know everything, right? But I think that was the first time I saw not physically, but saw any type of disagreement. And there was a lot happening at that time. So it was just kind of like, it was clear as day. It was shown to me clear as day. Mom went to work, and mom is making sure I can go do what I want to do and what I'm saying I'm passionate about.
And your father was doing what?
Whatever my mom was saying, do.
Okay.
And so that's not your dad, though, right?
No, that's my dad, and that's not my sperm donor.
For
Got
sure.
it.
I get
Yeah.
you. But y'all have a good relationship? Y'all are good, or?
Okay. All right. Okay. So then,
Yeah.
Okay
you
then.
were going to school. You were going to school, and you saw that there were differences of opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you saw the differences of opinion, that made you understand what? I'm still wanting you to kind of explain to me. You saw there was something going on, or there was something different going on, but did it start making you pay attention more to their relationship, or
Yeah, I kind of had to.
Okay.
I had to start paying attention. When you in a whole different state and your parents are across the country, when I had to realize who to call, I had to realize who was gonna pick up the phone. I had to realize who was gonna deem what I was calling for important. And never once could I call him and say, "Hey, I need A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I don't have groceries. I'm locked out of my dorm." Any of that. I could not call him. It was my mom and her family.
Wow.
Okay. So hearing her saying that now, do you remember those experiences?
It was a lot going on around her leaving. It was the beginning of the end.
Okay.
Because it caused a lot of strain. Because again, I grew up different from him. And when she told me she wanted to go to the #1 culinary arts school in the country, I said, "Then baby, you're going to do what you want to do." Because that's what we do. And so I was willing to sacrifice it all to give that to her. But after she left, it was a lot of strain around that, with me wanting to do for her instead of doing for our household. Because I didn't have much support from him at all in regards to making sure she could pursue her education at this school. So it was me and my father.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Nyla, where were you at spiritually when you were going to school? Do you remember having a relationship with Christ at that point, or did it grow into that?
My foundation has always been Christ.
Okay.
Like, that's always been my foundation. Was my relationship as strong going into college?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah. Well, that's most of us.
Yeah, probably not.
Well, a lot of us.
But I can say that it doesn't matter what I'm going through. Even then, I knew if I can't talk to anybody and I can't put what I'm feeling into words, I know even if I'm not saying nothing, I can sit there and just be on my knees and be like, "God, help me make this make sense." I always knew I could double back to that.
That's so good. That is really good.
How did it make you feel though when you realized like you couldn't call on your father, and you had to rely on your mom? What were those emotions?
I'm not a real emotional person. So, I can't really remember emotions beyond just like being hurt. But I also knew, like, I had this thing where I don't know if it's the right thing to say, but I'm gonna say it. Like, I had this thing where I always felt I wasn't his responsibility.
And I get that.
Yeah.
Like, whatever he did for me was extra. Because I wasn't his. I wasn't his responsibility to take care of.
Right.
Wow.
How did you know that though? I understand we know roles and how people come into our lives, but you as a young person, how did you actually know that? Did you figure it out because of how you were being treated, or you just understood that?
I think I just understood it. I don't think so, right? You could probably say this a little better. I don't think I have ever really displayed it. But my whole life, it was very obvious, like
Compared to your
compared to my
sisters?
sisters. And it was primarily with his family.
Gotcha.
It was very obvious my entire life.
Okay.
Wow.
I was too much like my mom.
Yeah. And like you said, they were actually his biological children.
Yeah.
So you felt like they had partiality and were receiving treatment or special treatment.
Yeah, and it was never like obvious. If he got their names tattooed on him, my name was tattooed on him.
Okay.
But it wasn't until I became a teenager where it became like, hey,
evident,
yeah.
going on.
And can I say something?
Yes, you can.
It kind of breaks my heart and I tear up because it took a situation, Nyla, and I won't tell her story for her, but she had a very traumatic situation. Her freshman year at school.
Okay.
And I had to go and pull her out of school.
Mm-hmm.
And my eyes were open in that moment, where I saw that he did not have the same pain that I had.
Mm.
He did not have the same tears that I had.
Mm.
And in that situation with her that she had at school, in the way that he handled it, I knew I could never bounce back. Because this was my baby, right?
Yeah.
And if you're raising her, if she's calling you dad, I need you to feel the same pain as a parent that I feel when somebody has violated our daughter.
Amen.
And that situation was mentally, I wasn't going to bounce back from that.
Yeah.
So mentally, I was living in this anguish after I had to go and get her from school.
Yeah.
Living in a lot of guilt of her being so far away.
Yeah.
And things happening that I couldn't control.
Yeah.
But it would have made me feel better if her father, who had raised her, if I saw the same anger in him. And I think, and it's sad to say it, and it hurts my heart to say, but that is when the wool really came off of my eyes. Because if it was one of the other girls, you know what I'm saying? He would have tried to blow the campus out. So that's when the wool came off my eyes, and I still get emotional talking about that. And I think that's the moment where I realized it was going to be my job and responsibility to walk her through her healing, to walk her through the tough beginning of her adult years. So that she can understand the world is not always kind. But you can still be kind, and you can make it through anything that you go through.
Yeah. And when you say you couldn't bounce back from that, like tell the audience what that actually meant for you.
Mentally, we had some tough nights when I brought her home from school. I went and packed up her dorm. I brought her home, and I would go upstairs to check on her, and she was having a rough time. And so I would check on her, and then I would go back down to my room, and I would cry in bed. And sometimes I'd be loud on purpose, like, wake up.
Do you feel I'm over here? Right. You're like,
Wake up. He would not budge, y'all.
wow.
Oh my goodness.
No, I'm laughing, but it was a really, and Nyla knows this. This was a very tough time for us. And a year later, that's when our divorce started.
Okay.
And then the divorce was very, very difficult. I was running a nonprofit at the time of my divorce. I had 6 girls. You remember the apartments?
I do.
I had 6 girls living in apartments for my nonprofit, for Viola's house, as I'm going through the world's ugliest divorce.
Wow.
And as I'm going through this divorce, I had been trying to get in with these doctors at Baylor because I had a tuberculation at 22. They had me incubated too long. Intubated, I'm saying it wrong.
Intubated.
And basically, it gave me tracheostenosis, which is, it caused part of my trachea to be diseased. So I'm going through this divorce. I've got 6 girls living in apartments for Viola's house.
And Viola's house, real quick, tell us what Viola's house is.
Is a maternity home for teen moms that are homeless and pregnant. And I started out with a mentoring program and moved into the residential side based on the mentoring that I was doing in the high schools.
Okay.
So, but I always would breathe like, And sometimes you can hear it now. So I'm going through the world's ugliest divorce, and I finally get in with these specialists at Baylor. They do an MRI on me and told me they needed to do immediate surgery to repair my trachea because they didn't know if my trachea was holding up at night while I slept.
Wow.
And I told them, I said, well, this is not a good time. I'm going through a divorce.
That's what you were telling the doctor.
Right.
Nyla is in Austin at the time. I got these 2 other girls who just cutting up bad as I'm going through this divorce. And then I've got 6 girls living in apartments. And so I was smart enough to tell my mother to fly in for this surgery. And they gave me a warning. They said, you young. You should wake up right after the surgery. Should be no problem. We're going to remove the bad part of your trachea, reconnect the 2 good parts. Surgery takes about 5 hours. You should be good. I woke up 4 days later.
Wow.
As I was coming to, there were white coats all around me. And what immediately alerted me to that something was wrong is Nyla lived in Austin. And I looked through the doctors and saw her standing there. I didn't know how long I had been out. I didn't know what had happened. All I know is that I was on a vent. And if you ever wake up and you're on a vent, nothing about it feels natural. It's breathing for you, and you can't breathe in sequence with the vent. And tears just start streaming down my face because you feel the tubes coming straight through your body. And I remember the doctor told me, he said, Thana, he said, we're going to remove it, but we need you to breathe. You got to breathe so that we don't have to revent you. And as tears coming down my eyes, all I'm saying is, God, yes, God, I'll do whatever you need me to do. Yes, God, I'm going to breathe. And I remember them removing the vent. And I was just doing everything to make sure I could breathe. And that's when I learned that I had been out for 4 days, that the surgery was difficult, and I couldn't breathe on my own after the surgery, and they had to vent me. And I later learned that in those 4 days, so much had transpired. And Nyla was called in, and the rest of my family was called. There were times when my blood pressure just kept spiking.
So why did they call them in? What were they thinking about you?
Well, one, I was going through a divorce, and my husband that I was divorcing was making the decisions. So my family was not happy about that. And there was a lot of rifts and turmoil with that. And some pretty bad stuff that I won't talk about with that. But let's just say my family felt the need to be there. And you know, again, like when the doctor said, hey, you've got to breathe when I remove this vent, they didn't know if my trachea would collapse when they removed the vent.
Wow.
So that has been an ongoing, that year I ended up having to have 7 surgeries.
Wow.
On my trachea.
Wow.
And still, I have to go and do the outpatients every year just so I can breathe normal.
Wow, Thana.
Yeah.
So, Nyla, when you hear this, and you were there, and you saw your mom, were you there for the first day of the 4 days, or when did you arrive?
I was there as soon as she got out of surgery.
As soon as she got out of surgery. So, what did they tell you when you first got there? Like, she was out those 4 days, but when they called you, what did they say about your mom?
My grandma called me.
Okay.
And she said I needed to get down there. She didn't call me in an emergent state at all. She just knows how I am, and I don't play.
Yeah.
Like it had somebody called me 4 days later.
You would have
Lord.
I would have caused. Can I say hell?
No.
Okay. Well, I would have caused it. Sorry.
We cannot say that.
You don't play about your mama. That's all.
Yeah, basically, in a nutshell, I don't play. But she called me, and I got down there, not immediately, but immediately, as soon as I humanly possibly could. And when I got there, the doctors just said that she was on a ventilator.
Okay.
They wanted to ensure that her trachea was good and would hold up.
Okay.
So I stayed there all night. every night.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, honestly, when I say that whole 4 days is kind of a blur
Yeah.
to me,
Yeah.
I just remember my most vivid memories are in the middle of the night. I could not sleep. And that's when she would wake up, is in the middle of the night. So me and my grandma, we would just alternate who's staying up, make sure we had to end up putting boxing gloves on her. It was a whole ordeal.
Wow.
But it was probably the scariest time of my entire life.
So what were the boxing gloves? You said boxing gloves.
Oh, because she kept trying to pull the tube.
And I have no memory of it.
She kept trying to pull the tube.
I have no memory.
And I just kept trying to talk to her. Like she said, she had no idea.
Was I woke?
I don't know what you were, honestly.
Yeah.
Kind of just probably sedated.
Yeah, I think you were just heavily sedated.
Yeah.
You definitely were not awake. You were on a vent. But for some reason, she would just pop up and try and grab the vent out of her mouth.
Wow.
So the scariest memories are just sitting there making sure I'm holding her hands, and I'm just like, can y'all please help me?
Yeah.
Wow.
But my crazy boyfriend kept me a little sane at that time. Sorry.
Well, are y'all still together?
No, not at all.
Okay, so back then he was a crazy boyfriend. Okay.
He was a crazy boyfriend.
Okay.
Ex-crazy boyfriend.
Okay.
But he helped keep me a little sane. But like she said, a lot happened in them 4 days.
Got it.
A lot happened.
And so when you came to the 4 days, and since then you said now you have to do outpatient where you go back regularly and have that checked. How have you been doing with that just over the years since then?
It was a tough year, and that was the year where I had to move out of my home into Soto.
Okay.
With 2 daughters that were in high school.
Why?
Because I didn't know any better. So I put someone in the house thinking that I couldn't maintain it myself. So I put someone in the house, and it was a tough year. But I will say this about it. Everything about that toughness just made me keep saying yes.
Okay.
I refused to be defeated through what that year was bringing. My 2 other daughters were going crazy, losing their mind. And when my ex-husband left, he left. So there was no, hey, I'm coming to get the girls on the weekends. Right. So now I'm dealing with a 15 and 16-year-old who's had their father their entire life, and he has left and moved in with his girlfriend.
Oh, wow. So when they found that out, the other 2, how did they feel about that?
Their behavior.
They started acting
horrible. And so I am now working catastrophes because that was my corporate career. I was a catastrophe manager.
Wow.
So I'm working catastrophe claims and still running a full maternity home, right? With multiple girls, and then sometimes it would be 9 or 10 girls. And so I'm going full speed ahead. I never stopped to grieve. It was a whole year of me managing this catastrophe team, finishing construction on the house that you now see for Viola's house, doing a grand opening for that house, moving girls in. And at the time I was managing about 60 adjusters.
Wow.
And then at one point I sent the adjusters home to work so that I could work out of my office in the maternity home.
I remember coming to see you.
I remember that too.
Yeah. I was working, and I would have 3 screens in front of me, 2 phones, one for the maternity home, one for my insurance. And I'm constantly saying, God, if you just keep providing a provision, I'm going to do it. Everything God was telling me to do. It took me a year before I ever cried over exactly 1 year after my divorce. My ex-husband got remarried. And I remember the toughness and getting my girls dressed for this wedding and me giving them a pep talk and doing their makeup, and I dressed y'all out of my closet. Remember?
Yes, Lord.
And they were distraught. And when I finally got them out that house, I gave them a pep talk. I said, listen, y'all go to the wedding, support your dad, and when you get back, I'm gonna be right here. And it took me a year, and that's when I finally cried.
And when you cried, what were the emotions that were coming over you at that point?
I felt so bad for my girls. I felt so bad for them. I felt so bad that there was no consideration for them. And I was exhausted. I had just been going through surgeries, managing a catastrophe.
You had been in beast mode.
Oh,
You was like, ow.
yeah. And I cried.
It was like,
cried.
I got to take this off and just let it
I
all
did.
out.
I laid across that bed and I got a good cry out.
That's so
I
good.
did. But
That
it
is
took
so
me
good.
a year. Yeah. I wasn't even expecting to tell all of this.
That's what happened at the old baby show. It bring out that
We go all the way through
I thought we was talking about business. You got me telling my whole
But
testimony.
it is the journey, though.
Yeah.
You know, this is the side that people don't get to see.
I know they
Yeah.
don't.
They're awarding you for all these great things
They
that
do.
you're doing.
Yes.
But it is showing. Do y'all understand what she had to go through
Yes.
to receive these
Yeah.
awards?
Yeah.
There was some pain. There was some
Oh my
suffering.
gosh.
And you over there looking for Namsala and stuff, walking up on stage. I just want to say thank you and stuff.
Yeah.
But they don't understand what you've been
The
through.
journey.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So we wanted people to come and hear it, and not just from you, but your daughter who has experienced it with you.
Yes.
And now we want to talk about that journey because you and Nyla went through all of that, and now Nyla is doing what with you? What is that process?
I have 52 employees at Viola's house, and she is the
52?
operations director.
She is what?
She's the operations director.
Ooh, I know that's right.
Come on, Nyla.
And does amazing
Operate.
at it.
And one of the best things is none of my daughters ever repeated the cycle of teen pregnancy.
To God be the glory.
That's so good.
And Nyla is actually raising a baby from the community.
Wow.
My G baby. Nyla's actually raising him. One of the mothers, that's a whole nother story. I won't get into it, but we've had a baby since he was basically born.
Oh, wow.
And Nyla's raising him, but none of my girls repeated the cycle. Even through what they went through with their father, the divorce. And I'm grateful for that.
Amen.
I'm grateful
That's
for that.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So, Nyla, how is you running these operations and things? What you doing?
Honestly, my sole mission as the director of operations for Viola's house, one, I'm always so grateful I can work for Legacy. It's not just
Come on,
working.
I know that's right.
It's not like working for somebody else, because I know this will, like, she has started such a legacy that will always be attached to me as well.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So that's amazing. And with that being said, I just always make sure to, one, try and make sure we operate in the original space, that the original mission that this whole organization started in.
Yes.
So no matter what we're doing, what meeting I'm having, what staff member I'm talking to, I try to always follow my mom's lead with being, one, a servant leader.
So good.
Beautiful.
And I try to, even if it means me fussing at people, well, try to make sure that the original mission always stays the same.
Yeah.
And that we are actually doing what we're saying we're doing.
Amen.
All the way down to the root of where we came from.
That's so beautiful.
How many years have you been serving, and how long has been Viola's house and all that?
So Viola's house is 12 or 13 years old.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And Nyla came on. This is funny, y'all. Nyla, at the beginning of COVID, y'all know all the restaurants shut down. Remember, she's a chef.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, come be my executive assistant.
Mm.
And she,
How did that go?
she said no. I said,
I tried it.
I was like, you really don't have an option with COVID and the restaurants. And so he was my executive assistant for all of 2 weeks.
Okay.
I'm a little, I got a lot going on.
We understand.
You know.
We probably twins in that area.
But I thought executive assistant meant go run all my errands for me. She wasn't having it.
Absolutely not.
She wasn't having it. So
Couldn't do it.
she moved to a different position of like a resident aide or client advocate or something.
I just kind of made up my own positions
Oh.
as you needed stuff. I
Yeah.
just kind of threw myself in there.
And then COVID made us extremely busy. So while the world was shutting down due to COVID, we had to grow and expand our services and scale quickly.
Wow.
When you got a porch full of community moms on the porch, but you're typically just a maternity home.
Yeah.
So we had to immediately put our caps on and say, okay, how do we now serve the community? A community that's not necessarily homeless,
Yeah.
but they are in need of critical resources right
Yeah,
now because
yeah.
the world is shut down.
Wow.
How do we get diapers, socks, wipes, formula? That started where we started doing these porch giveaways on South Boulevard. The line would be wrapped for blocks. y'all.
Wow.
And so we're trying to serve these moms. And one of the things, I always love baby clothes. So I would put 2 outfits in a Ziploc bag. Remember that? With a pair of socks. And I remember, and God would constantly, every need that I stepped up to the plate to meet, God would give me my next for the organization.
So
Amen.
good.
And so I said, we need a baby boutique.
Wow.
But in the process of trying to get the boutique open, I realized that even if I put this stuff at $2 or $3,
It was still too much.
it was
sometimes.
too much, right? So I said, God, okay, how do we provide without charging these mothers in this boutique?
Yeah.
And I had some funding to give classes to mothers, right?
Wow.
So I said, well, and we kind of came up with this. We said, well, if we tell them if they take a class, that'll pay for the stuff in the boutique. So we give them
Wow.
electronic baby bucks for taking the class.
Mm.
So we
good.
rolled out this marketing a week before the boutique opened
Wow.
to say, if you get in this class at 10 o'clock, you're going to get $10 in baby bucks to shop in this boutique. In our first day of class, we had 125 mothers.
Wow.
And it has never stopped since.
Oh my Lord.
Right now, we have over 500 mothers a day in classes.
Wow.
Our boutique has tripled in size. We now have a call center. We have 7 executive offices. We're in the process of opening a pediatric clinic next door to the boutique
Wow.
because we were blessed and able to purchase the commercial retail strip space that the boutique is in.
Yeah.
We
Ooh,
are
that's so
also renovating a second home for mothers with multiple children. Right now, mothers in the state of Texas have no access to abortion. So we're stepping up to meet another need because the number one demographic for abortions in Texas wasn't the first-time teen mom. It was the mother that already had 1 or 2 children.
Wow.
And so now we're seeing an overflow of applicants that are homeless with multiple children. And so we were donated a 26-room mansion,
Wow.
and that will
God be the
be
glory.
family suites.
Hallelujah.
Wow.
Family suites with childcare on the first level.
That is
My Lord.
amazing.
We're also
Yes.
opening up a maternity home in
Ooh,
Baltimore,
that's messing me
Maryland.
up.
Mm.
My Lord.
We have a mobile unit that services DISD almost every day. And we also opened up a social service agency already in Brownsville this year.
My Lord.
So you're right. People see now,
But they
but
don't
I
know.
just told you about that journey.
Mm.
That journey is something, but you have to keep saying yes.
Wow.
And you never know what the process is going to be as you say yes.
Yeah.
But Nyla is sometimes the left side of my brain and sometimes the right. Because it's a lot of
All right,
moving
Sparkle.
parts happening right now. And I have to have that support of someone who is unwavering in understanding
Yeah.
the mission and this is not about us.
Yeah.
This
Amen.
is not about us.
Amen. My Lord.
Yeah.
That's so good. So tell
Oh,
the
that's
people,
amazing.
first of all, how they can follow you and stay
Okay.
connected to the website and volunteer and all of that.
Absolutely. So our website is www.violashouse.org. You can give us a call. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Viola's House Dallas. My personal Instagram is at Thana Hickman.
Spell that, please.
Thana Hickman, Hickman. That's my personal Instagram. But if you follow Viola's House or myself, there's a link tree. You can keep up with all events. You'll see our Amazon wish list. You can volunteer. You can do everything.
You can donate.
Yeah,
Donate.
and what's you got coming up?
Yeah, you got a big event coming
What's
up.
coming
Well,
up?
if I must.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, then. Go ahead, tell
Oh,
us.
y'all done got it started.
Well, honey, we support mothers, and so we are having our second annual Black Tie Gala
Yay!
in Dallas at the Statler Hotel, and we are bringing the mother of all mothers, Beyonce Knowles' mother,
Wow.
Mother Tina Knowles, will be there December 2nd, the day before Chyna's birthday. But she's gonna be
Yes.
working again.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
We're
Pretty much. Okay.
Because people don't know this, but I met Titia years ago, and then I started following Chyna, and Chyna ended up doing my makeup, and she's been my makeup artist for
Ever
years.
since.
A
She
long time.
also gives me personal makeup lessons.
And she
never
did
did
really well tonight.
She
Yeah,
tells
she
me I'm
did.
doing better. But yeah, so Chyna will be there beating some faces. But yes, December 2nd at the Statler Hotel in Dallas. Listen, this is the gala of the year.
Yes.
We are honoring a major philanthropist, Ben Leo. Then we are honoring Philly Freeway. I might date myself with this, but he's from back in the day. Remember I told you about Tupac getting killed?
Yeah.
Oh, he was rapping around that time as well. But he does kidney awareness advocacy work. Viola was my godmother. She was part of my village when I was a teen mom.
Yeah.
And so I love the village concept. And she died of kidney disease.
Wow.
And so we are honoring him because of his work around kidney disease awareness.
Wow.
We've got some great people. Gammy is coming back this year.
Yay.
She was there last year at our first one.
Who's Gammy for the people that don't know?
I am so sorry. You're right. Adrienne Norris. She is the mother of Jada Pinkett Smith.
Okay.
She's a beautiful spirit, and she's working with me to help get the home in Baltimore open.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we are really closing out our year strong with that gala. But more importantly, 2 weeks after the gala, at Fair Park, we do Christmas in Fair Park.
Yes.
We give Christmas toys to thousands of kids.
Wow.
It is now considered a legacy event at Fair Park.
Wow.
Last year we had over 6,000 people come, and we didn't run out of toys.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I don't know how. But we always need volunteers for that. This year we need over 300 volunteers for that event. We give an experience. You don't just come in, get a toy, and leave. There's photo stations, popcorn stations. You get diapers, wipes, socks, coats.
Wow.
Food, candy,
Yes.
the whole nine.
That's
So,
beautiful.
I'm excited about the gala, but I love giving and serving, and so I'm really excited about Christmas in Fair Park this year as well. So December is busy for us, but we finish our year strong, and then we take a break and come back
I know
better.
that's right.
That is so beautiful. So if you could, Thana, tell the women one more time how to follow you, but then we want you to end by closing out, giving the women some encouragement.
I sure will. So everyone can find me on social media at Thana Hickman, Thana Hickman, Hickman, or you can follow the organization at Viola's House Dallas.
Okay.
As I told my story today, the encouragement that I want to give the women is that you have to continue to say yes, no matter what the journey brings, no matter what your process or how long that process may feel.
Mm-hmm.
Because God is not bound to the same time that we're bound to. His promises are yes and amen, no matter what. So if he promised it, he is faithful to complete it. And I know it. I'm a living testimony. I'm a living witness that if you continue to say yes, you can make such an impact here on earth as long as you are answering a problem that exists here in the earth. So keep going, keep saying yes.
Yes
Yay.
to the Father.
Okay.
Yes to his path being directed by thee.
Mm-hmm.
That's so beautiful. I love that.
So good.
Well, Thana, Nyla, we have had a phenomenal time.
Yeah, we got real deep.
Child
Real
about
deep.
brand,
On
tell
okay
people
then.
how to stay connected to us.
So y'all can come and watch us every Wednesday at 9 a.m. on YouTube. And you can also listen on Spotify and Spotify is Anchor, and then on Apple Podcasts. Y'all make sure y'all tuning in. And make sure y'all liking and subscribing on YouTube. Ooh.
Yeah, that's okay.
On
I was
YouTube.
gonna fix it.
Anyways. But make sure y'all just tune in with us, keep
Following, liking,
following me,
subscribing.
all that.
Yeah, that's what we want. So each
Mhm.
Wednesday morning we're on at 9 a.m. with a different show. And you can go back and watch some of the previous ones.
Yes.
And we do want you to continue to comment with us and share with us the different experiences that you've had based on the show that you watch.
Yeah.
Let us know if you'd like to be a guest. You can reach out to us directly on our YouTube by leaving those comments. And we're so excited that you guys tune in with us each week. We're so, so grateful for that.
Yes.
And so with that being said, we are about to left. So ladies, are you ready?
We're ready.
We're ready.
We're about to left, so we're going to say bye.
Okay then. Bye then.